Hello. Dungeons and Dragons villains. We all make them. We all need them. What else would we do if not for the villain plotline? You might be asking yourself, how do you make a good villain? What does it mean to be a good villain? Well, I'll tell you. Here are some tips to make a better villain for your Dungeons and Dragons campaign. Theming. What is your villain? Is your villain a mage? Is he a orc with a big axe who's blood hungry and has been setting a village on fire? Or is he just something elegant, something mysterious? Depends. Coming up with your theme is really the core of the villain that you're making for your story. Because if you don't have a theme, a core idea, it's gonna already start to fall apart. For example, let's use your classic mad scientist as our base, and then we'll move on to section 2, where I'll transform this mad scientist into something a little more. Second thing I can recommend is give them a good motivation. Now, this is another one of those kind of obvious things, but it's really important. In fact, I've been dealing with a lot of villains in my personal home campaign quite a bit. So one of the major things you're going to want is like a motivation that fits with the theme of the campaign. For example, say this mad scientist from earlier. Perhaps if the campaign is more combat themed, he's been scarred up and has been augmenting himself to be a better combatant, and he comes across the party and he has like all these like arms and legs, and he's this like horrible machine beast human hybrid. So, something crazy. His whole motivation for doing that is he needs to get stronger in this war-torn world. Or, if you're more story-focused, maybe he lost somebody, lost a dear brother, a dear wife, something. Not everything needs to be super dramatic. It could be a very simple motivation. It could be simply that he wants to know more. Or you can make a combination of all these things, which is what I did. It's very important that the villain is also just, it makes sense. It's not something that the players will not get or go right over their heads. You want something that the players can sort of relate to in a weird way, but not like enough where they feel sympathy, unless that's what you're going for. It depends. That leads me into our next tip. Not every villain needs a redemption arc. We are not Zuko from Avatar: The Last Airbender. We do not need a redemption arc for every villain. Now, this is an easy trope to fall into. It is good storytelling if you pull it off right, but you don't have to do it every time. It might get a little worn out, especially if your players have already encountered a villain who's had a redemption arc before. There are a lot of people in real life, like Vlad the Impaler, who are probably a little too far beyond redemption. So keep that in mind when designing a villain, that maybe at the core they did have good motivations, right? They were good at heart, but they got so twisted that they are beyond coming back from it. And the party dealing with them is sort of a twisted mercy in some way. Going back to the theme, I kind of glazed over the fact that they should have a bit of an aesthetic going on. Like maybe, they use a lot of darkness. Maybe they use a lot of illusion magic. Maybe they like machines, like the mad scientist. Or come up with something that they do a lot and well. That kind of brings this almost expectancy to the eventual battle that they might have, which I'll do explain boss battles in a different video. It's a whole different topic for itself, so look forward to that. But kind of giving a really core aesthetic, maybe they're covered in bones and they have this big robe, like a regal lich, or I guess a mad scientist with vials of potions and whatnot. It gives them a really good sense of character. If you're into this sort of thing, give them a unique voice. It's very easy to fall into the trope of giving every NPC a certain kind of voice, because it's just easier, especially when you're doing improv. Say, party members I talked to the man across the street and you never gave him a name, so you just give him the good old accent, he's going along. It's easy to do that. The villain, give him something unique, something the party hasn't heard before. Throw him off guard a little bit, make them uncomfortable. Maybe this villain, he's a noble, but he's like a undead noble, so he speaks with a very slow and methodical manner. Something that throws the party off. And last tip I can give you. As a dungeon master designing a villain, it's okay to let them die. It's easy to fall into the, this is my character that I built a super powerful super villain. But when the party has them dead to rights, let them die. Let the party have their moment. It's kind of hard to let them go, especially when you put in so much writing, so much lore into them. But when they're dead, the villain, maybe give the party an opportunity to read notes that they scribble down about their backstory if they didn't happen to get that during the battle or beforehand. Give the party a good opportunity to explore the villain that they've conquered, understand why they did what they did. I think that's the most important part of anything I've said here, of how to make a villain, is the party needs to understand why. Unless they're an eldritch god, in that case, you're cool. I hope this was helpful to you. If it's not, leave a comment, ask a question, I'll answer it. I have a lot of experience doing this. I've been a dungeon master for 5 years now or so, and a player even longer, kind of started DMing around the same time I started playing. So please, leave your comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Generic, I know, but hey. So no one's got to start somewhere. That's all from me. I'll probably be posting around 3 times a week. I like doing these. I'm usually a slow video maker, but these are cool. I like them. So, have yourself a good night, evening, morning, noon. Adios.